Hello and welcome to your glass shading demonstration. So I am actually going to use my worm's eye. So if you want to extra practice, you can use your worm's eye sketch, or you can just use your sketch. Mine doesn't actually have glass, and I don't know, I was thinking of maybe making these glass, but I haven't really thought about it. And so I don't have another like super finished sketch that actually has windows that I want to show you guys. So I'm going to use worm's eye. I recommend you actually practice on your sketch because this is your rough draft. Then you know like, oh, I like that or I don't for the final draft. But if you feel like, I don't quite know what I want, then you can practice on here and then you'll eventually be taking a picture. So you will take a picture of this and then you'll eventually be taking a picture after all the practices of your sketch with the shading practices on it. So if you practice glass on here, you still have to practice glass on your sketch if you have glass, which I think all of you do. And then after seeing it, maybe you're like, oh, I want to add some glass. Like maybe I want this whole side to be glass, etc. You might add back into it. Okay, so I'm using my worm's eye view just because I'm going to show you guys a bunch of different ways. And when I choose what I want to be glass in that one, or if I am, I'll just choose the one way. All right, so you can either use mechanical pencil or old school wooden pencil. And for glass, it's like techniques to make it look streaky and shiny, because essentially we want it to look different than the outside surface or outside structures. So the biggest thing in shading in perspective is you need to stay consistent, meaning the same side is dark. So if this side is dark, you know, that side is, this side is as well. So you want to stay consistent. And so therefore, if this was glass here, if there was a window here, it would be less shiny and streaky than this side. So the side that is more in the light would be shinier and streakier. And so that's what you need to remember to make it look like, you know, it's realistic. The other thing is we're going to pick where we want our light to come from. So for this one, I'm going to pick from this side, like it's coming up from here, or it's just on this side in general. I'm not going to put it on the actual sketch for this one. And for the final draft, I'm going to show you like, what if you want your light source to be completely off the paper, but you still want cast shadows? So I'm just going to pretend for this one light's coming from this side, so it means the left side of everything is going to stay light. I feel like that is the best way to go. So if light is hitting the left side of everything, then on this side would be value. On this side it would be value getting lighter as it goes in the distance. This side, and I'm going to skip over those windows because I'm actually going to put something in there. This side would be darker value because it's closer to us and we're trying to create a focal point or enhancing. So this part would be even darker value because it's getting closest to us. So as it's getting further away, it gets lighter, medium, darker. Okay, so if light is coming from this side, then your indented areas would stay and have value. And so if light's coming from this side, it might hit like this side here. So maybe I would go a little bit darker on this part, but then light probably wouldn't be hitting the underneath. So then I would be adding a little bit of value and kind of fading out. So you can add a little value and then just use your blender. Okay, so if I wanted the inside to look like glass, I could take my blender and I could decide what direction you want to go. I'm going to go like, I have diagonals going this way, and I have my verticals and I have my horizontals, so I'm going to do an opposite direction. So I could leave it kind of streaky like that, just with the blender, and then I can go back and do a little glass representation. But let's say I'm doing this window. Let's say it was indented. Then I have my streakiness, and the little lines need to get smaller. So keep in mind that as it gets further away, your lines will get smaller, the streakiness will get smaller. I'm going to zoom in on that so you can see like the streakiness of it. Okay, another option is to do all that, but add a little bit of value first. So it's darker. It kind of depends on what, especially on some of your buildings or structures that are closer to the viewer. So I would blend and fade, and then I'd probably make sure I have a little bit of shadow underneath to make it look like it's like blocking the light hitting. Because the light's coming in. Then I have a little bit of range of value as well. And it doesn't take that much longer. Okay, with mechanical pencil, I would go back and erase out my streakiness, and then put in my little lines. Or you can leave it streaky and just like that. So it just gives the effect that it's kind of streaky. Just remember that as things get further away from you, it's lighter in value and probably less detailed. Okay, so let's say, because many of you have buildings that don't have anything indented, so looking over here, so let's say like you have these buildings that don't have a lot of detail, especially the ones that are a little further away. So light is coming from this side, so therefore this side's gonna stay white and this side is gonna have some value. So if I really wanted to enhance the perspective, I would go darker the further away from the light source. I'm using 2B because this is further away. And if I was to shade this, and this was big on my final draft, I would use 6B for this side, just so it's darker than the further away structures. It helps show depth or dimension. And remember, we're selectively shading. We're just trying to enhance the three-dimensional quality of our drawings. And of course, on your final draft, you can absolutely use your bigger blender, tissue. Okay, so then I would go over my lines. Actually, they'll be in pen for you on your final draft, which is another reason why pen is already there. So you're not losing your lines with the shading, like I am. And I didn't want your guys' ruler like all over the graphite. Okay, so let's say that's on there. All right, so if I wanted this side to look like glass, with my dirty blender, I would still go back and put in like this streakiness. And you might have to like blend and pick up some graphite. Okay, so then on this side, I'm going to use mechanical because it's getting further away. So just make sure it's smaller or like more spaced. So like the little animated glass marks. Okay, so then over here though, so this is the further away part. It's not like really getting a lot of light. So I'd probably just use old school wooden pencil, and I would either go the opposite direction or stay the same direction. I'm gonna go the opposite, so it's kind of parallel to the divisions. And then ever so gently, some short, some long. So then it looks like, you know, it's not as detailed as this one, but it still looks like it's kind of shiny and glass-like. So if you don't have any glass, maybe after this demonstration and doing a quick practice, you're like, ooh, actually. So I probably would consider on my final draft maybe making these out of glass, but I kind of wanted to still add something to them. Or maybe I'll do like a whole side of glass. Ooh, maybe I'll add a whole side of glass to mine. Okay, so after watching, you're like, maybe I will choose glass. Okay, so there you go. If you find another method of doing shiny, streaky glass, you can use it. But what we, So for buildings, what we want to avoid is all of the buildings just like this. Because how long does that take? That still doesn't look good. Doesn't really even look like glass. even like that. It really still doesn't, I mean, like, yeah, we know it is, but in your buildings that are close to you, you need more detail. Now this, and buildings that are far away, completely acceptable. So let's say I have, always use your ruler. Let's say I have windows like on that one. Can I just add a couple lines? Absolutely, because that is really far away. You're just telling us it's a different, you know, it's not flat, it's a different texture. So only a little bit of detail if it's really far away. Okay, have fun.